Hello, welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you for joining me on today's show. Well, we are back here in the saddle. It's been 10 days since the last show was posted, and I was on a family vacation with my wife and 4 children. We went up and spent the week with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law in Idaho, and they had a lot of fun activities planned for us. And yesterday we were at the Grand Canyon, but it's been a lot of driving from Tucson to Boise, back down. But we're back. Glad to be back on the show today. And here we go. We're going to continue in Matthew chapter 12 today. We're actually going to finish the chapter today. So that's pretty awesome. We're going to look at chapter 12, verses 47 through 50, which say, "Someone told him, 'Look, your mother and your brothers are standing outside wanting to speak to you.' But to the one who had told him this, Jesus replied, 'Who is my mother and who are my brothers?' And pointing to his disciples, he said, 'Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother.'" Now, we touched on in chapter 46 who the brothers of Jesus are. The Greek word that was used for that is a word known as adelphoi. And it actually means, it can mean kinsman. That's its proper usage, is kinsman. Because in Koine Greek and in Aramaic, there was no word for cousin. And the early church fathers even attest to this as well, is that these brothers and sisters that we read about in the English translation are actually kinsmen or cousins, possibly even stepbrothers or sisters of Jesus. Mary didn't have any other children besides Christ, and we can see that when he was hanging on the cross, how he gives Mary's care over to the Apostle John. If he had other brothers, it would have been against Jewish law to give her care over to someone other than another sibling. So that's kind of interesting there. But we go to verse 50. The will of my Father. So obedience to God the Father, it creates a stronger relationship that's stronger than family ties. It's greater than those natural family bonds that may exist between siblings, cousins, etc. Now, although Jesus had no biological siblings, his spiritual brothers and sisters are the adopted children of God. And we become adopted children of God through faith in Christ. Now, they're empowered to obey God. They're empowered to obey God, just as he did. And we see that in John 8:29 and 1 John 3:7 through 10. Now at the end of verse 50, Jesus points to his disciples and says, "Whoever obeys the will of God is my brother, my sister, and mother." Very interesting. Because verse 47 says, his brothers and sisters, or his brothers were outside and mother wanting to talk to him. So as far as mother goes, this is far from undermining the role of Mary, these verses. These verses are used a lot of times to say, look, Jesus didn't hold Mary in any high regard. That's quite the opposite. These verses don't undermine the role of Mary. Jesus reveals his true greatness through his own birth. After all, she was not merely his natural mother through generation, but she became the mother of God precisely by embracing the Father's will. Now, I know some people balk at this term mother of God, but if you believe that Jesus is God incarnate, Mary did give birth to God himself. It doesn't mean that she somehow existed before God. That's not the case at all. The term Mother of God is an expression of the divinity of Christ. It's not an exaltation of Mary in that regard. It's all about Jesus' divinity, as the Council of Ephesus said in AD 431. Her relationship to Jesus, both spiritual and physical, is magnified by Jesus in his statement in verse 50. So thank you for joining me on this edition of the Daily Bible Podcast. Forgive the 10-day break, but I didn't want to record 10 days on my phone, which turned out to be the reception actually up there wasn't all that great For whatever reason, Sprint does not have great coverage in the north, at least in Idaho. Don't know why, but anyway, that's a whole other topic. Thank you for joining me on the Daily Bible Podcast, and join me tomorrow as we start chapter 13. God bless you. Thank you for listening.